Thank you. That's a good speech, but it's just not true. Yeah, that's not really true. I don't know why you're picking on me.
Welcome back to another Shark Show. Today, like we said in our last show, this is basically the second part because there was so much on the April 13th Commissioner Court agenda, and we just didn't have time in the first show to do everything. So the second show, this one, we're going to be speaking about items number 13 and 14 that Commissioner Precinct 2 Ron Cotton, put on the agenda. And 13 is to discuss and take appropriate action regarding resolution adopting the opposition to SB 234 and HB 749. So that's the opposition to taxpayer-funded lobbying bill.
So that means he's for taxpayer-funded lobbying.
Yes. So he's fighting against the number 8 priority of the Republican Party to do away with taxpayer-funded lobbying.
Yeah, he is.
It seems to be a trend of his to go against what the Republican priorities are. He seems to oppose all of them.
It's past being a trend. I mean, that's just what Ron and Ron end up doing, right?
Yeah.
Before we get rolling today with the Blue Shark Show, we would like to throw a shout out to Martin's Office Supply here in Granbury. We changed up the set a little bit here in the studio, and we got a table from Martin's Office Supply. So you guys did a great job, great customer service, and thank you very much. So Cotton reads the resolution to oppose this very conservative bill into the record on the court, and he basically says, hey, TAC, after he reads it in, is the eyes and ears for the county. Before that, the eyes and ears should be the people of Hood County, not TAC. They're supposed to take a back seat to the people, but for you, Ron, that's the front seat.
One of the things that Ron said in court the other day was that this measure would make it impossible for TAC to give information to the counties about pending legislation, and that is not the case at all. 100% false on that. What this does is it makes it to where these lobbyists can't lobby the legislators using taxpayer money.
Right, so that keeps the taxpayer money in the county instead of paying these other people to go lobby the legislator. You can still get the information. It is still there. They can still provide that information. Now,
TAC may not want to because there's not as much money in that as there is in being a lobbyist, but we, just have to cross that bridge when we get there.
That's right. And he, Cotton read in, and part of the resolution said it's a false claim that taxpayer-funded lobbying works against the interest of the taxpayers. And that is a false claim in and of itself. And I really think that Ron needs to pay attention to what TAC gives him as a resolution, because, Ron didn't do this.
No.
So it was given to him. So perfect example is in the 86th legislative session, which was last year, and SB 2 was brought forth to save on taxpayer money, right? Property tax reform. And what the bill did was take it from 8%, that's your elected officials, county and city, and other taxing entities like ESDs, could charge the citizens. And they lowered that to 3.5%. And at that 3.5% level, anything over that, the citizens had to vote on. Imagine that, right?
Yeah.
Giving power back to the people.
Yeah, which is where it should be. So that was a great bill. It was a great taxpayer bill to help lower property tax rates. Mm-hmm. Well, who do you think went down there on your tax money and my tax money to lobby and witness and testify against that bill?
TAC.
TAC, the Texas Association of Counties that Ron and Ron so dearly love. And if you look at the witness list from SB 2 last session, it reads like a who's who of the taxpayer-funded lobbies. And just this witness list, I'll just read a couple. First of all, it's Jim Allison, General Counsel for the County Judges and Commissioners Association. Well, there you go, right off the bat. And then you have Travis County, ESD 6, Emergency Service District, which, we're looking at in Hood County. And, the State Association of Fire and Emergency Districts. They all are in favor, like Ron Cotton, of pushing this down the citizens' throat. And it just goes on and on for every association, the Constables Association, Tax Assessor Association, the Justice of the Peace Association, the District Clerks Association. And here's one, I know we're talking about the county, but we have to throw this in. And good old Chris Kaufman, city manager of Granbury, and the Texas Management Association president testified against it, and so did Mayor Nin Hewlett last session. So they all testified against this.
Yeah.
Now, when they were testifying against that, I'm sure they were trying to tout this narrative of, oh, we need local control, right? We need local control to increase taxes at a rate more than 8% above population inflation.
We have a legislative staff at TAC, Texas Association of Counties. They give out legislative guides. They talk about how you go down and lobby as what? Elected official. They've got individuals for each and every association. They have a liaison to the county auditor, to the Judges and Commissioners Association, whether it's a federal bill that's coming down through the state, the tax assessors, the treasurers, the county attorney and DA association. Every single association, they have people watching out for bills and watching out for whose best interest?
Theirs, not ours.
That's right. Not the taxpayer's best interest. And our money is going to fund all these people and all these groups. And Cotton even said that Allison Bass is their representative. Jim Allison's an attorney, and Allison Bass and Maggie is a law firm in Austin that helps lobby against you here in Hood County with your own tax dollars that Ron and Ron want to vote for.
So the government is using our own money to lobby in favor of a bigger government, is that right?
Yeah, they have to grow government.
Yeah, that's
Imagine
insane.
What's also interesting too, though, is every commissioner, every elected official has the ability to pick up the phone, email, or go down to Austin if they need to meet face-to-face with someone. And they're saying that they need TAC to do this for them, yet this is exactly what TAC is asking them to do on their behalf to vote against this bill.
So the taxpayer-funded lobby is asking the government officials to come lobby in favor of the taxpayer-funded lobbies.
Right.
Yes.
And that's just one of the bills that was last session. And now all the bills are coming up this session, which Cotton is bringing up, in front of everybody, and how he says that we have to oppose this because, he's for growing government, expanding government.
Now, when they were testifying against that, I'm sure they were trying to tout this narrative of, oh, we need local control, right? We need local control to increase taxes at a rate more than 8% above population inflation.
We had a few people sign up to speak on this agenda item, and Nanette, I believe she was the first one to come up and talk to the commissioners about this, and she brought up a great point. This bill levels the playing field for all the counties in Texas.
Eliminating taxpayer-funded lobbying just levels the playing field. We will have the ability to contact our elected officials. No one should get the inside track because they're throwing around money. Eliminating taxpayer-funded lobbying eliminates it for the big counties as well, not just the small counties. I certainly hope you pull this resolution off the table.
Yeah, that's not really true.
If you have TAC down there lobbying for something that's maybe in the best interest of Houston or Austin, that's not necessarily great for Hood County. This would do away with that. So what's good for Hood County is good for Hood County. What's good for Austin's good for Austin. It doesn't intermingle the interest of the counties that have nothing to do with Hood County. And then, when she finished, she was told once again by Ron Cotton that what she just said was not true. But it is true. This levels the playing field, and this ensures that the interest of Hood County remain with Hood County. And I don't know if Ron Cotton just doesn't understand how this works, but this is, like you said, it's more than just a trend. So.
Yeah. And he stepped all over. He argued with her. Tried to go back and forth, just interrupted her, and
she couldn't get a word in.
No, it's the true Ron Cotton. It's not true, and he goes right after her, and it's like, Ron, listen, talk to her after Commissioner Court or set up a meeting, you know. But going back and forth like that in court, not productive.
Especially trying to speak over someone like that. When, I mean, you can have a discussion about an agenda item, that's fine, but just to be blatantly rude in that way. And it wasn't just Nanette he did it to, but what was interesting is I noticed he only did it to the women that came up to speak to the Commissioner's Court.
You know, in belittling your constituents, I don't care if it's a Republican official to a Democrat citizen or vice versa, it's not a good look for anybody. And when you're doing that in a Republican county, going against a Republican platform, that's really not a good look.
I am here to speak against your resolution, Commissioner Cotton. Have you heard that people say he who pays the piper dictates the tune? That means the person who pays for something has the power to decide what it will be like. Have you heard that before? So what is taxpayer-funded lobbying? Taxpayer-funded lobbying is defined as the practice of using funds that come directly or indirectly from taxpayers for political lobbying purposes. Taxpayer-funded lobbying is one government fund lobbying another. I urge you, commissioners, to take a stand on the principle of a just government and being for and by the people and individual liberties, to not just reject the resolution of opposing SB 234 and HB 749, but instead to support a resolution to adopt supporting SB 234 and HB 749. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good speech, but it's just not true.
JC Lopez came up and she had a great line and she said, "He who pays the piper dictates the tune." Mm-hmm. And that's exactly right. And it was pretty pointed. She was very serious. Mm-hmm. And at the end, once again, you know, it's just common for Ron Cotton. He gets out those words. That's not true.
But it is true. Everything, she made some great points. Everything she said was true. And she brought up some information that he really needs to start listening to his constituents. So this is blatant disrespect and disregard for what they have to say. Unless, of course, you're a Democrat that goes up there, then they like what you have to say.
Yeah, so one thing I really liked about what JC had to say was, hey, we shouldn't be doing a resolution to oppose this. We should be doing a resolution to support this. I think that's a great idea.
It is, and maybe we can do that, right?
Yeah, sounds like a great idea.
Let me just finish. That just make us aware of that $3,000 a year, there's nobody that can, that's what we pay tax for, and it's $3,000, and that's just an information. They're not down there trying to lobby. I think the last time, which kind of feeds into this, are these unfunded mandates that we get from the state legislature that pass it on to the county that says you got to pay for like indigent legal work to represent indigent. And that's what we do. That's what I'm saying. But that's something that when you wanted to have to increase the property rate, they give us no way to pay for these unfunded mandates. That's the real issue here.
Yeah, and Sharon Sheelander came up, and the same thing happened to Sharon. You know, Ron Cotton, you know, interrupts her, and then the judge interrupts her. In true judge fashion, what does he do?
Now, that old bait and switch, that's an old political tactic. You know, you typically see the kind of scummier politicians employ this, but, you know, you do it to disorient and distract from the actual issue at hand.
That's right.
Yeah. It gets the speaker that's addressing the Commissioner's Court off track from what they actually went up there to talk about, which was the taxpayer-funded lobbying, and tried to switch it over to unfunded mandates.
Right. Typical tactic, and, you know, he even raises up his arm at one point during Sharon Sheelander's time and says, "Wait, let me finish. I'm the county judge," right?
Yeah, courtesy goes two ways, and it's supposed to be a two-way street.
It is, but, you know, not with these guys, and, you know, we talk about it, but please watch the videos, because we can't even put all the stuff in here. You will be disgusted if you see the 4 or 5 hour video on how they treated the citizens.
Yeah, it was pretty appalling.
And, you know, when the judge went off on Sharon's time, you know, he said, look, TAC is an information source, which they are. Yeah, I agree with that. And then he said they're not a lobbying source. Well, we just read all the lobbying source and testifying that they've done against you, the citizens of Hood County, and every citizen in the state of Texas.
Yes.
So they are a lobbying force. I think they're confused.
Well, if they're not a lobbying group, then why are they against this ban on taxpayer-funded lobbying?
And why are we paying them as Hood County residents?
Yeah.
Whether it's $3,000 or $30,000 or $300,000.
And I wanted to throw in here, I believe these are two separate issues, but a lot of this verbiage seems to tie these things together. We can still have the existence of TAG, looking through the legislation and everything, and coming to the commissioners, bringing that message out of the legislative sessions. It's just saying that I believe it's somewhere around 10% of tax budget that's are dedicated to having an attorney go talk to your state rep. I think that this is saying let's not allow that, the taxpayer money, because it's potentially working against the interest of the taxpayer.
So Kevin Andrews, Commissioner Andrews, once again, stepping up to the plate. Great job.
Yes, good job.
He made the point that that money that we send down to TAC can work against the taxpayers. Again, great job, Kevin Andrews. He's really been coming into his own lately, and I'm happy to see it.
Me too.
Yeah, it was great to hear him basically explain to the other commissioners on the court what the citizens had been trying to say that whole time.
And not only that, but he gets a round of applause from the citizens, right?
Yes.
He got a few that day. It was awesome.
Yes.
And another great job, Kevin. You're coming into your own. You're doing good.
Well, I know that TAC was opposed to Senate Bill 2, and I'm in favor of Senate Bill 2. I think that Senate Bill 2 works in favor of the taxpayer. And is it the best interest of the county? I think anytime in the best interest of the taxpayer, in the best interest of the county. I agree. So, but my taxpayer money went to pay a lobbyist to fight against Senate Bill 2 that I agree with. And I think that there's sometimes that type of issue comes up, but may be best for county government is sometimes what's at odds with the taxpayer. And I don't think that this bill eliminates TAC being able to come and advise us what's coming through the legislature. It just keeps them from going by it. Well, it'd be a pretty cheap steak for this.
And Kevin brought up another great point, basically to hit home again with how taxpayer-funded lobbyists work against the taxpayer. So he was for SB2 last session, but his tax money went to pay a lobbyist to go down there and lobby against this bill that he was in support of. Then that's a perfect example of how that does not work for the county, for the taxpayer.
And again, when TAC goes to lobby, they're not lobbying for the people. They're lobbying for the government. That's
exactly.
it.
That's right. Grow government, and we want as small as possible of a government, right?
Yep.
Right, because we want the power to remain in the hands of the people.
Right. And then Dave Eagle comes in, the anchor, the conservative anchor of that court, and Kevin, coming in now, close second. He comes in and he just says, I'm going to read the bill, and this is how it is, and he can't understand why Ron and Ron are against it.
Could I read House Bill 749 and or Senate Bill 234 so that you guys can hear what is the big hoot-to-do's about? Because I haven't heard that mentioned yet, and they're both the same language. Senator Hall, State Senator Hall, authored Senate Bill 234. Mays Middleton for the House authored House Bill 749. And it says, Section 1, Chapter 556 Government Code is amended by adding Section 556.0056 to read as follows. Restriction on the use of public funds by political subdivisions for lobbying activities. A political subdivision may not spend public funds, your money, to, number one, hire an individual required to register as a lobbyist under Chapter 305 for the purpose of lobbying a member of the legislature Or Part 2, to pay a non-profit state association or organization that A, primarily represents political subdivisions, that would be TAC. Wow, wonder why TAC's opposed to this.
And he's like, you know, you can't spend public funds to lobby. Pretty simple in the bill. Mm-hmm. And then even nonprofits can't do that. And who is TAC?
Yeah.
They're considered a nonprofit. So it's like, oh, TAC better get in here or the little money gravy train's going to leave, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, Ron and Ron are defending them. They're part of that gravy money train.
You know, it's interesting to see Ron and Ron on the side of the big government. They're not on the side of the people on this at all. They're honestly, it sounds like they're representing TAC in this court.
Maybe they are.
Yeah, it doesn't come as a surprise anymore at this point. It's pretty much par for the course when it comes to those two.
Dave made a great point up there Tuesday, and he said, listen, TAC is not in it for you guys. He's not in it for you guys. TAC is in it for the government.
And they hire and contract with an individual required to register as a lobbyist, which is what TAC does. They take our $3,000 from every county, 254 counties, and they take that big pool of money and they do hire lobbyists. So yes, this resolution is about as democratic as it gets, in my opinion. I've talked about the 8 legislative priorities of the Republican Party, the state party, for this season. And number 8 is to ban taxpayer-funded lobbying.
And after we heard from Commissioner Eagle, you know, tell the court basically this is the 8th legislative priority, taxpayer-funded lobbying to do away with. Mm-hmm. Then we have Christine Leftwich that came up, spoke really good, and she even had a quote that the government's the servant of the people, not the master.
Yeah.
Under the fundamental philosophy of the American constitutional form of representative government that adheres to the principle that government is the servant and not the master of the people.
And I think Master Ron and Master Ron need to figure out that they need to be servants of the people.
Yeah, they seem to think that being dictators up there is what their job is, and they need to be reminded again and again, it seems, that they're up there to serve. And then again, after Christine Leftwich gets done speaking, we see Commissioner Cotton coming after her again.
So that's not what these bills are about. Thank you.
Well, why are you bringing that up now when Commissioner Eagle did 2 of these and we didn't even get them until Friday before they come to, why didn't you bring it up then with another commissioner? I don't know why you're picking on me. We've been doing this and I'm kind of following what the rest of them, what Commissioner Eagle has done it a couple of times. He gives us our resolutions on Saturday.
Isn't that a song?
For Tuesday.
Why is everybody
so I just wonder why you're doing it
on
now. why are you doing it now? And why wouldn't you do it before? You've been here for long enough to see how the court works.
Mr. Cotton.
Yes?
This is a normal behavior for him after someone comes up there to speak and he doesn't like what they have to say, then he has to go after them afterwards. And he feels like, I guess, that he's being picked on, yet this was his agenda item.
Exactly, and it's like, he even said, why is everybody picking on me?
Oh, poor Ron.
Oh, I
Give
know.
me a break.
And that's how the crowd felt, because they laughed all about it. I mean, they were chuckling, and even Christine said, you know, isn't there a song about that?
Yeah.
So she just kind of made himself the butt end of the joke.
Yeah.
And one of the last speakers was David Fisher. He's the current Republican chair for Hood County. And Nate, what'd you think?
Well, you know, Mike, we've been wanting David Fisher to get up there and promote the party, our principles, our legislative priorities, and our platform.
I want to say that each of you ran as a Republican, and I represent the Republican Party in this county. Each of you signed an oath that said that you would support the Republican Party of Texas, and especially the priorities. And this is number 8 on the priorities. And so I want to be very simple and very quick here. If you sign a resolution against these bills, you would be violating your oath. I took that oath when I ran for office. Each of you took that oath when you ran for office. If you want to support your oath, and I'm calling on you to fulfill your oath, to keep your oath, please don't sign this resolution. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm glad to see him finally take a stand publicly. And, you know, at the end of his spiel, he said, look, if y'all go in favor of this motion against the bill banning taxpayer-funded lobbying, you're violating your oath. And that's a valid point. And honestly, I was just as shocked to hear it as I think Ron Cotton and Judge Massengill were shocked to hear it.
Yeah, they look like they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah, they both turned to each other on the dais there, and they looked at each other and tried to figure out what they need to do. And it was shortly after that Cotton pulled, right, number 13 on the agenda item. But they used the guise of, not because it's a legislative priority, but because of the AG opinion.
Yeah.
So still, after they get that from the Hood County chair, still they're not going along with it.
Yeah.
And we said in the last show that, you know, we would hope that they just scrub that all together before it got started. And, you know, at least David Fisher got up there and said that. But these two agenda items, 13 and 14, shouldn't even been on the agenda.
No, and, you know, I guess all's well that ends well. We wanted them to scrub it. They had to take a beating for about an hour on this, but they finally did pull it.
Right. And it just shows you who's who on the court, right?
Yeah.
We will talk a little bit about agenda item number 14 because the judge kind of blended them both together as he always does.
Yeah, he tried to.
And the old bait and switch, if one isn't working, you know, then let's try the other one. And they went off on this unfunded mandate territory. And yes, there are unfunded mandates.
Well, the jail's an unfunded mandate.
Yeah, the Texas Penal Code's an unfunded mandate. You know, so at some point in time, you know, even Kevin steps up and says, I would rather have the money spent here having our own people, local, hometown people, you know, decide on where this money's going to go and how we're going to spend it.
Yeah.
So, you know, they don't throw in all the stuff, the grants, the highway grants, loans for TxDOT. They get grants for training. They get grants for roads. As a matter of fact, in May of last year, while I was a state rep, we sent out emails to all our counties because there was a $200,000 grant for Hood County on infrastructure for county roads. And it got sent to the Hood County judge, right? And TxDOT notified him by certified letter.
Did they ever apply for that grant?
No, they were reminded by our office twice. And they did not take advantage of the grant. That was an 80-20% match, meaning Hood County would have paid $40,000 and the state would have paid $200,000 for the grant for county roads and infrastructure, and he passed on it. Yet Ron Cotton and the judge are going to complain about unfunded mandates.
And it's something that we desperately need here in Hood County. I mean, everybody complains about the roads and the bridges. You don't have a leg to stand on to complain about unfunded mandates if you're not taking advantage of these grants, though.
Right, and I guarantee you the grants and the low interest loans far outweigh any what you would call an unfunded mandate, which you can't even define down in Austin between Texas Association of Counties, the Texas Municipal League. You can't even, they won't even come up with a definition, because if they came up with an unfunded mandate definition, you'd have counties like Harris County throwing out the Texas Penal Code.
Right.
And, you know, Dave, you know, puts a nail right there in the coffin and says basically, you know, what I've been saying for years.
Counties remain subject to the actions of the legislature. In other words, the state's kind of our boss. Counties are organized to perform governmental functions on behalf of the state, and like the independent ordinance authority that municipalities have. While counties have been delegated certain powers by the state, they remain under full control of the state.
The county is a creature of the state.
Yep.
And it's basically, you know, the state is the county's boss. And the state gives the county taxing authority to tax, by property tax, on the things they need for the infrastructure. So it's kind of a dead issue, but they keep using that as an excuse. TAC brainwashes your county officials into thinking, hey, here's your excuse, use this to your citizens.
Yeah, so again, all's well that ends well. You know, it got pulled just like we wanted it to. That's a good thing. And, you know, I'm getting really tired, and I think the people around here are getting really tired of seeing the way Ron Cotton and Ron Massengill talk to, particularly the Republican women that get up there to testify in Commissioner's Court. I hope that the people have had enough, and I hope we can eventually run these two guys right out of town.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that would be great. And, thank you to everyone that came out and spoke. I believe you're owed an apology by some of the commissioners in the court from the way they treated you. But thank you for standing up on your principles. Thank you for informing them, and continue to do that good work.
Thanks once again for coming out and testifying against taxpayer-funded lobbying. Y'all did a great job. Keep it up. You're being very informed. You're doing your research. You're doing your homework. A lot more than the Ron and Ron sitting on the court. And once again, Kevin Andrews, Dave Eagle, the anchors of that court, thank you all for showing up.
Guys, again, if you like what we're doing here at Blue Shark, be sure to like, share, subscribe this video. And if you head over to blueshark.media, not .com, blueshark.media, you'll find the products we have for sale. It's a way to help contribute to what we're doing here for you guys. We sell these hats, as you see Mike and I wearing. Got some t-shirts. Courtney's sporting one today. And we've also got the tumblers.
And Blue Shark is here for you, the citizens of Hood County, watching and shining a light on your elected and appointed officials. Shark Show out.